Yes, Jamal, I just made it to the top 20. Keep voting for me.
The moment Jamal picked up the microphone after being crowned the winner of American Idol, something shifted in the room. While the other finalists were still crying, thanking their families, and celebrating their achievements on live television, Jamal took a different approach. He used that moment, in front of millions of viewers, to talk about something far deeper than music, lights, or trophies. What he said wasn't rehearsed or polished. It came from a place of truth, the kind of truth that can't be ignored. His message wasn't just about his career or the competition. Jamal chose to speak about justice, pain, and finally finding the courage to speak up. And what he shared would go on to change the conversation, not only in entertainment, but across the country. Jamal's story didn't begin with fame, flashing cameras, or sold-out concerts. It started in a small, quiet town in the southern United States. A place where dreams often felt like distant stars visible, but hard to reach. He was raised by a single mother who worked long hours just to make ends meet. She taught him early on that nothing would be handed to him and that he would have to fight for every opportunity. Life was hard and sometimes overwhelming, but Jamal found comfort in music. It became his safe space, the one thing he could count on when everything else felt uncertain. From an early age, his voice stood out. Whether it was at church, school events, or family gatherings, people stopped to listen when Jamal sang. He had something special, something that couldn't be taught. But turning that natural talent into a career wasn't as simple as being good at singing.
It's the gospel version. Look at me in my eye. Ooh, yeah. Listen, Lord, I want to take the time and thank you just for putting up with me.
When Jamal tried to enter the music industry, he ran into wall after wall. Industry professionals told him he had talent but not the right image. He heard it more times than he could count. "You're good, but not what we're looking for." Those words stayed with him. They didn't just hurt, they reminded him that he didn't fit the mold they wanted. He was too real, too raw, too soulful. At local music events, Jamal often got placed at the end of the lineup after most of the crowd had already gone home. Sometimes he was told directly that his style wasn't welcome. Other times, he was simply ignored, while less talented performers, often with connections or more polished looks, were given the spotlight. Slowly, that constant rejection chipped away at his confidence. Still, he refused to quit. During the day, Jamal worked long hours delivering packages, stacking shelves, even cleaning office buildings. At night, he chased his dreams singing at open mic nights, recording in tiny studios, and sending demos to anyone who would listen. Every dollar he earned not only supported his dream, but also helped provide for his family. He carried the weight of responsibility while still trying to protect the flame inside him that told him he was meant for more. But even flames can fade. Jamal was on the verge of letting go of his dream completely when something happened that changed his course forever. A personal tragedy shook him deeply and reignited his desire to make a difference. That pain reminded him of why he started singing in the first place, not for fame, but to tell his story. So, when he walked into that American Idol audition room, it wasn't just another chance. It was his last chance. All the rejection, the doubts, the sleepless nights, he carried it all with him that day. When he began to sing, it wasn't perfect in the technical sense. But it was raw, real, and powerful. You could hear the years of struggle in his voice. When he finished, the room was silent until one judge wiped away tears and whispered, "This is why we do this." That moment was captured on camera, and within hours, his audition video had spread across social media. But people weren't just sharing the clip because of his singing. They were sharing it because they felt something. In Jamal, they saw someone who refused to give up. Someone who dared to be vulnerable. Someone who represented them. As Jamal advanced through the competition, his performances continued to move people. Fans voted for him in record numbers, drawn to his honesty and emotion. While others wore designer outfits and followed media scripts, Jamal stayed true who he was. But behind the scenes, not everything was as warm. Jamal quickly noticed subtle signs that he wasn't being treated the same as other contestants. While some competitors were given extra rehearsal time or invited to private coaching sessions, Jamal was often left out. When he asked about it, the answers were always vague. We're out of time, or the slots were already filled. Others noticed, too. People close to the production began to speak quietly about how Jamal was being sidelined. Some revealed that producers questioned whether Jamal had the right look or whether he was marketable. These questions weren't asked of everyone. They seemed focused on Jamal, on his identity, on the pride he took in his roots, on how he chose to show up without changing himself to fit a mold. Even some fellow contestants mocked him. They whispered that he was playing the victim or didn't really belong there. Jamal never responded publicly, but people who knew him said he was deeply aware of the tension and the isolation he often felt. It wasn't just about music, it was about being seen, heard, and treated fairly. Even the judges' comments sometimes felt uneven. When Jamal gave a heartfelt performance, he was told he needed to be more polished. But when others showed emotion, they were praised for being bold and expressive. And then there were strange changes songs, switched at the last minute, lights adjusted during his set, or his performance time shortened without explanation. The pressure kept building, and Jamal reached a point where he couldn't stay quiet anymore. On the night Jamal won American Idol, the room was supposed to be filled with tears of joy and falling confetti. And for a moment, it was. But what came next completely shifted the mood. With the microphone in hand and millions of people watching, Jamal stood center stage, looked into the camera, and took a deep breath. "This win means the world to me," he said. "But I can't leave this stage without being honest." He began to speak not just about his journey, but about what happened behind the scenes. He described how it felt to be overlooked, to be asked if he was marketable, to be made to feel like he didn't belong. He spoke about the loneliness, the doubts, and the quiet discrimination that rarely gets acknowledged on big stages like this one. "This isn't just about me," he said. "This is for every talented person who's ever been told they're not the right fit, who's been asked to change who they are just to be accepted. Your truth is your power. Don't shrink to fit in." The room erupted in applause. And just like that, Jamal's speech went viral. Hashtags started trending across social media. People shared his words, not just because he won, but because he used his voice to speak up about something important. Fans called it one of the most powerful moments in television history. One user tweeted, "This was more than a win. It was a wake-up call." Another posted, "Jamal didn't just win Idol, he gave every overlooked artist a voice." Fellow musicians, especially Black artists, shared their own stories of being rejected or judged for not fitting into a stereotype. Activists pointed out that Jamal's story was part of a larger pattern in the entertainment world, where bias often hides behind words like branding or image. Even celebrities who had never spoken about these issues began reposting Jamal's message. What started as a talent show win became a national movement. Of course, not everyone was on board. Some insiders from the show claimed that Jamal had misunderstood how things worked. Others suggested he was being ungrateful or turning it into a racial issue. But instead of silencing the conversation, those comments only fueled it. Fans began to look back at the show's history. How many winners were people of color? How often Black contestants were eliminated early or given backhanded compliments by judges? The issue was no longer just about Jamal. It was about a pattern that had been ignored for too long. Instead of stepping back, Jamal leaned in. He announced that he's launching a nonprofit group to help young musicians from underrepresented backgrounds. His mission is simple: to make sure no talented artist ever feels like they have to change who they are just to be heard. The organization will provide funding, mentorship, and opportunities to those who are often overlooked. Jamal doesn't want future artists to go through what he did alone. He's also working on new music songs that tell his story, unfiltered and unapologetic. These songs will reflect everything he's lived through: the struggle, the heartbreak, the triumph. He's not polishing it to please the industry. He's making music for those who need to feel seen. Jamal also plans to mentor others. He wants to be the person he wished he had when he was younger. He's holding the door open for every artist who has ever been told they don't fit in. Not just for people who look like him, but for anyone who's been made to feel small. Jamal may have left the stage with a trophy, but the real prize is what he's building now. A legacy, a platform, a safe space for honest voices. His win marked the end of a season, but the beginning of something much greater. If Jamal's words moved you, if his message mattered to you, then don't let it end here. Share his story. Support his mission. Encourage others to use their voice. This isn't the end, it's just the beginning. And Jamal's journey is proof that even when the world tells you no, your truth can still lead to a yes. Jamal's journey is more than just a win on a singing competition. It's a call for real change. He used his voice not just to sing, but to speak out for those who've been ignored, doubted, or pushed aside. What he said after his victory opened the door for deeper conversations about fairness, representation, and truth in the entertainment industry. And now, he's not just talking, he's taking action. Through his upcoming nonprofit and music that reflects his raw experiences, Jamal is making space for others like him to rise. He's proving that your story, your truth, and your voice matter even when the world tries to silence it. So if his message touched you, if it made you think, or if you saw yourself in his words, now is the time to stand with him. Like, share, and leave a comment below to show your support. Let's keep this conversation going, not just for Jamal, but for everyone still waiting for their shot. Thanks for watching. This is just the beginning. Stay tuned and remember, your truth is your power. Don't ever dim it for anyone.